Welcome back to my channel. Today, we explore the value of specific coins, the top 7 most valuable U.S. Kennedy half-dollar coins, value in today's market. So let's get started. First up, the 1972 Kennedy half-dollar with a D mint mark is a coin many people come across in pocket change, old coin jars, or inherited collections. Minted in Denver, this coin carries historical significance and remains an interesting piece for collectors, even though it is not made of silver like earlier half-dollars. In 1971, the U.S. Mint stopped producing circulating half-dollars with any silver content, so by the time the 1972 Kennedy half-dollar was issued, it was made entirely of copper-nickel clad. That means its intrinsic metal value is relatively low. Unlike its 40% silver predecessors from 1965 to 1970, the 1972 has no melt value beyond the base metal, which is usually less than 20 cents. However, collectors still assign value based on condition, mint mark, and demand. The D mint mark indicates it was struck at the Denver Mint, which produced over 141 million Kennedy half-dollars that year. Because of this high mintage, it's not considered rare. In average, circulated, or what you might call a dirty condition, it typically sells for around 50 cents to $1. Dealers often pay less than face value when buying in bulk, especially if the coins are heavily worn. That said, there are exceptions. If your 1972 half-dollar has strong detail, minimal wear, and sharp luster, it may fall into the category of an uncirculated coin, which could be worth $2 to $3. Higher grades certified by third-party grading services such as PC or NGC, especially coins graded MS65 or higher, may reach values between $10 and $30, depending on the coin market at the time. But these are not common in circulation. There's one other factor to consider: errors and varieties. For the 1972 there aren't any major recognized errors that drastically boost value, like double dies or no FG initials that are known from other years. So, unless your coin has some unusual striking issue or unique error, its value remains in the low range. To sum it up, a 1972 Kennedy half-dollar, in normal, dirty, circulated condition is worth about 50 cents to $1 in today's collector market. It's a neat coin to hang on to for its history and design, but unless it's in exceptional condition or has a rare error, it won't carry significant monetary value. Still, every coin tells a story, and for many collectors, that's what makes it worth keeping. Next up, the 1989 Kennedy half-dollar from the United States Mint, specifically one with a Philadelphia Mint mark or the letter P. We'll explore what makes this coin unique, its history, and most importantly, its current value in the coin collecting market, particularly if the coin is in damaged condition or has what's commonly referred to as a dot error or surface flaw. The Kennedy half-dollar series began in just months after the assassination of President John F. Kennedy. Since then, these 50-cent pieces have been struck regularly for circulation, collectors, and special mint sets. By 1989, the composition of the Kennedy half-dollar had long been changed from 90% silver to a copper-nickel-clad structure. This means that, unlike the early silver issues, the 1989 version does not hold intrinsic metal value beyond its face or collectible worth. The Philadelphia minted 1989 Kennedy half-dollar can be identified by the P mint mark, typically found just below Kennedy's neck on the coin's obverse side. It's important to note that this coin was made in very large quantities. In fact, over 24 million of these coins were minted in Philadelphia alone, making it very common in circulated condition. However, collectors sometimes come across examples with unusual surface markings, what some refer to as a dot error or damage. These are typically small indentations or raised bumps caused either during the minting process or post-mint due to wear or damage. In most cases, these dots or damages are not recognized as official mint errors unless they can be verified. As D-related, this distinction is important because verified mint errors tend to hold more value than coins that were simply damaged after they left the mint. Now let's talk about the value. A standard 1989 Kennedy half-dollar from the Philadelphia Mint, in circulated condition with signs of wear and no unusual features, generally holds very little premium above its face value. Most dealers and collectors would pay between 50 cents and $1 for such a coin. Even in uncirculated condition, without significant damage, the coin might sell for only $1 to $2, depending on its luster and quality. When it comes to coins in damaged condition, including those with scratches, corrosion, or small dot-like imperfections, the value tends to decrease. In most cases, a damaged 1989 Kennedy half-dollar would be considered worth only face value 50 cents. However, if a coin has an unusual feature that can be confirmed as a true mint error such as a die chip, retained lamination, or planchette flaw, then it may fetch more on the collector market. Depending on the nature and visibility of the error, such a coin might sell anywhere from $5 to $20, or possibly more if the error is dramatic and well documented. In summary, While the 1989 Kennedy half dollar from the Philadelphia Mint is a historically interesting piece, it remains a very common coin, in damaged or non-certified condition. Its value today in the U.S. coin market is generally limited to face value or just slightly above. If you believe you have a true mint error, it's worth getting the coin examined by a professional grading service to determine whether it carries any numismatic premium. Next up, the 1980 Kennedy half dollar is a widely collected coin minted in the United States at the Denver Mint. While this particular year and mint mark are not considered rare in general circulation, there are still collectors who value well-preserved examples, especially in higher grades like extra fine. The Kennedy half dollar series began in 1964, issued shortly after President John F. Kennedy's assassination in 1963. The coin was meant to honor the late president and quickly became one of the most iconic modern coins in the United States. By 1980, the composition of the half dollar was already copper-nickel clad, having switched from the 90% silver content used in the 1964 issue and from the 40% silver used between 1965 and 1970. The Denver Mint produced over 33 million Kennedy half dollars in 1980. Because of this high mintage, the 1980D issue is generally considered common. Most of these coins entered circulation and show significant wear. However, coins that have been well preserved and graded as extra fine, or XF, still hold some value among hobbyists and collectors. In extra fine condition, the 1980D Kennedy half dollar will show slight wear on the highest points of the design. Details in Kennedy's hair, jawline, and the eagle on the reverse will still be sharp and defined, though not as crisp as those found on uncirculated examples. An extra fine coin shows signs of light use, but the design elements remain clear and attractive. As of today, in the current collector's market, a 1980D Kennedy half dollar in extra fine condition typically sells for around $1.50 to $2. This value reflects its appeal to collectors seeking coins with above-average preservation but not quite in mint state. It's important to note that this value may vary slightly depending on market demand, dealer pricing, and how the coin is sold, whether in person, through an auction, or online. While this coin does not command a high premium like some older or rarer half dollars, it still holds interest for those building a complete date and mint mark set or for newer collectors looking for affordable entry points into the hobby. A well-struck and nicely preserved example is still worth setting aside, especially when found in pocket change or coin rolls. In summary, the 1980D Kennedy half dollar in extra fine condition is a common coin, but its modest value and historical significance as part of the Kennedy series make it a worthwhile piece for casual collectors. Its current value in today's market sits just above face value, providing a small but meaningful return for those who appreciate the story and legacy behind each coin. Next up, the 1973 Kennedy half dollar without mint mark, specifically in extra fine XF condition, focusing on its value in today's market. With a runtime of about 3 minutes, if you have a 1973 Kennedy half dollar without a mint mark, you might be wondering whether it holds any significant value today. Let's take a closer look at this coin, its background, and how much it's worth in the current market, specifically in extra fine condition. The Kennedy half dollar series began in 1964, just a few months after the assassination of President John F. Kennedy. The coin was introduced as a tribute to the late president and quickly became popular among collectors and the general public. By 1971, the U.S. Mint had transitioned from using silver to copper-nickel clad composition, which includes the 1973 issue. The coin we're focusing on today, the 1973 Kennedy half dollar without a mint mark, was produced at the Philadelphia Mint. Unlike coins from the Denver or San Francisco mints, Philadelphia coins from that period typically do not carry a mint mark. This makes it a standard issue rather than a rare variety, but its value can still be of interest depending on its condition and demand among collectors. In terms of mintage, over 64 million of these coins were struck in Philadelphia in 1973. Because of this large production number, the coin is not considered rare. However, collectors often seek out coins in high grades or those that have been well preserved over the decades. Now, let's talk about condition. A coin in extra fine or XF condition means it has seen limited circulation. There will still be light wear on the highest points of the design, but most details such as Kennedy's hair and the eagle on the reverse remain sharp and clear. It's a solid mid-grade collectible condition. So what's it worth today? In the current coin market, a 1973 Kennedy half dollar without a mint mark in extra fine condition is generally worth between $1 and $2. While this is above its face value, it remains a relatively modest premium. The price can fluctuate slightly based on market demand, the specific appearance of the coin, and how well defined the features are. Even within the extra fine grade, it's also important to note that 1973 Kennedy half dollars were not released for circulation. they were struck only for mint sets that year. So if you find one in your collection or coin roll, chances are it was broken out of a mint set. That adds a bit of interest, but not necessarily much additional value. To get a more accurate valuation, you could consider having the coin looked at by a professional dealer or submitting it to a third-party grading service if you believe it may be in even better condition. But for most extra fine examples, the market price stays modest. In summary, while the 1973 Kennedy half dollar without a mint mark isn't a rare or high-value coin in extra fine condition, it still holds collectible interest and a value slightly above face. You're building a Kennedy half dollar set, it's definitely a coin to include, but it won't be the one that makes the set particularly valuable. Next up, the 1971 Kennedy half dollar without a mint mark, particularly in good condition. In today's video, we're taking a closer look at the 1971 Kennedy half dollar without a mint mark and what it could be worth in today's market. Many people come across these coins and wonder if they're sitting on hidden treasure. So, let's break down the details. What makes these coins interesting, and how much you might be able to sell or buy one for today. The 1971 Kennedy half dollar is a common coin in circulation. It was the first year this half dollar was struck, in a copper-nickel clad composition, replacing the previous 40% silver version used from 1965 through 1970. That means, unless you find an error or a special variety, the 1971 version contains no silver content. If your coin doesn't have a mint mark, that means it was produced at the Philadelphia Mint. In terms of production numbers, the Philadelphia Mint struck over 155 million Kennedy half dollars in 1971. With that kind of quantity, most of these coins have very little value beyond face value if they've been heavily circulated. However, coins in excellent condition, particularly those that have been preserved with minimal wear, can have some collector interest. So what does good condition really mean in terms of value? In the coin collecting world, there are several grading levels. A coin in average circulated condition is usually referred to as good or very good, but these typically don't carry much extra value. However, if your 1971 half dollar is in extremely fine condition or better, meaning it has sharp details, only minor signs of wear, and good eye appeal, it may sell for slightly more than its face value. Currently, a 1971 Kennedy half dollar without a mint mark, in well-preserved circulated condition, might sell for around $1 to $2. If it's in uncirculated condition, meaning it has never been used in commerce and shows no signs of wear, it could fetch anywhere from $5 to $10, sometimes more if it has exceptional luster and is graded by a professional service. That said, the most valuable examples are those that are certified as high-grade mint state coins, typically MS65 or higher on the grading scale. These can command higher prices from collectors. In some cases, a certified MS66 or MS67 example has sold for over $100. Depending on market demand and the quality of the strike, it's important to note that there are also rare errors from this year that can boost a coin's value significantly. For example, some 1971 Kennedy half dollars were mistakenly struck on a silver planchet left over from 1970. These error coins can sell for thousands of dollars, but they are extremely rare and usually need professional verification. So, while the 1971 Kennedy half dollar without a mint mark is generally not considered rare or highly valuable in average condition, it can still bring a modest premium if it's in great shape. And as always, if you believe you have a rare variety or an error coin, it's best to have it examined by a reputable coin dealer or grading service. Next up, the 1977 Kennedy half dollar is a popular coin among collectors and everyday coin enthusiasts alike. Even though it's not considered a rare coin, there's still a lot of curiosity around its values, especially when it comes to the version without a mint mark. Let's start with a little background. The Kennedy half dollar was first introduced in 1964 to honor President John F. Kennedy after his assassination. Over the years, millions have been minted, with the 1977 version being no exception. In that year alone, the Philadelphia Mint produced over 43 million of these coins, and those are the ones that don't have a mint mark. So if your coin doesn't show a small letter D or S under Kennedy's neck, it was minted in Philadelphia. Now, many people hope these coins are worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars. But the truth is more modest, especially if the coin is in average condition. By average, we're talking about typical wear and tear from circulation. This includes surface scratches, worn details, and slight discoloration. Nothing extreme, but certainly not mint or proof quality either. So what's it actually worth in today's market? As of now, a 1977 Kennedy half dollar without a mint mark, in circulated condition, is usually worth around 50 cents to $1. In most cases, it won't sell for more than face value unless it's in uncirculated or high-grade condition. Even then, prices don't jump dramatically. For example, a coin graded MS65 by a professional grading service might sell for around $5 to $10. Depending on demand, it's important to understand that these coins contain no silver. They're made of a copper-nickel clad composition. That means there's no intrinsic metal value beyond the standard material. This is different from the 1964 Kennedy half dollars, which were 90% silver and carry a much higher base value due to their silver content. Now, there are a few exceptions to keep in mind. If you find a coin with an unusual error such as an off strike, a double die, or other minting mistake, it could be worth more. Error coins tend to attract collectors because they're unique, but they're also pretty rare. If you think you have an error coin or one that's in extremely good condition, you might want to get it professionally graded. Just be aware that grading costs money, so it's not always worth it for coins with low potential value. In summary, a 1977 Kennedy half dollar, without a mint mark in normal, worn condition is generally worth no more than $1. It's a great piece of American history and a nice addition to any casual collection, but it's not something that will likely bring in a large profit. Next up, the 1979 Kennedy half dollar, without a mint mark, in circulated condition. If you've ever found a 1979 Kennedy half dollar in your change or tucked away in a drawer, you may have wondered if it holds any real value. Today, we're taking a closer look at the 1979 Kennedy half dollar without a mint mark and what it's worth in average circulated condition in today's market. The Kennedy half dollar has been a staple of American coinage since it was first introduced in 1964, following the assassination of President John F. Kennedy. The 1979 version of this coin is made of a copper-nickel clad composition, not silver, and is relatively common. Coins without a mint mark were struck at the Philadelphia Mint. Now, if your 1979 Kennedy half dollar is in normal circulated condition, that means it's been used in everyday transactions, shows some wear, and may even be a bit dirty. It falls into the category of what collectors call average circulated. In this condition, it's generally not considered rare or particularly valuable from a numismatic standpoint. So, what does that mean for its value today? In most cases, a 1979 Kennedy half dollar without a mint mark, when found in this circulated condition, is worth its face value of 50 cents. However, due to rising interest in coin collecting and inflation, some coin dealers and online marketplaces may list these coins for slightly more. On platforms like eBay or local coin shops, you might see them being sold for around 75 cents to $1, depending on the buyer's interest or shipping cost if sold online. But that doesn't mean you'll be able to sell yours for that price, especially if it's worn. Keep in mind that most of the added value only comes into play if the coin is in uncirculated or mint condition, or if it has a significant minting error. Error coins or proof versions can sell for higher amounts, sometimes even several dollars, depending on the uniqueness of the error and the overall condition. But for a typical, well-circulated 1979 Kennedy half dollar with no mint mark, the value stays very close to face value. To wrap it up, while the 1979 Kennedy half dollar without a mint mark is a nice piece of American history and still a fun coin to collect, it doesn't carry high market value in circulated condition. It's worth holding on to if you're building a collection or simply want a piece of mid-20th century coinage. But don't expect a big payday from this specific coin unless you happen to find one in near perfect condition or with a rare error. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more coin collecting content. See you in next time. Happy collecting!